Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Michelle Saga and I am the crafty chick behind Chel's Beats. Today we're going to be putting the glitter aside and creating a cup that is perfect for the boys in your life. So this last week we had National Sons Day and I am the mom to two amazing boys. The inspiration for this tumbler was a combination of both of my sons, and the final design element was attributed to my youngest, who is an absolute sports fanatic and is the reason I decided to finish the tumbler off this way. Before we go any further though, I did want to kind of put a quick little disclaimer in here. This cup is actually not finished. This is the cup that we will be creating today, but I had a little mishap on the final step. So later on in this tutorial, I'm going to show you how I fixed it, and I hope that it inspires you to not necessarily just throw your cup in the strip pile and allow you to create a new piece of art out of something that you thought might be unsalvageable. So if you guys are ready to get started, let's jump in. Go ahead and take a sanded tumbler and we are going to prep it with Rustoleum 2x flat white. You want to make sure that this layer is very even because this white will show through. Try to make sure that you don't have any splotches or any bare areas. And I'm not really worrying about the bottom of the cup at this time because we will be adding spray paint to that later. Once this base layer is dry, we are going to move into the decorative elements of our cup using Montana Marble Black. This is a special spray paint that comes out kind of like in webs and will give us a really cool grunge effect. The nozzle does change direction, so if you take a small little pair of pliers, you can turn it the other way and the direction of the spray will come out differently. Got a little heavy-handed there on one part, but you want to be about 12 to 16 inches away from the cup when you are spraying. This is a very messy process, so I definitely recommend to wear gloves. Now we're going to come into adding some color to our tumbler. As you could see from the example in the intro, I used a green theme for this, kind of to tie in soccer and grass and just kind of that sporty feel. Don't worry about that area where we are heavy-handed because that is what we are going to kind of spray paint over later and use for our decal section. Now, some of you might ask why I didn't just add this alcohol ink prior to putting the black spray paint on. And the reason for that is for some reason, it kind of acts like a resist. I don't know if it is because of the pigment inside the alcohol ink, but I did on trial and error have a hard time getting that black to stick and it seemed to want to come up. So I will be adding the color after I add my black spray paint. If you notice here, I'm taking a makeup sponge and I am adding alcohol ink directly to the tumbler. I am using 2 shades of green today. I am using Limeade for my lighter color and Mojito for my darker color. I am wanting to kind of just dab this on in a very random fashion, fanning it out from the very center of the cup up towards the top and the bottom, adding more ink to my sponge as I go along. I'm not going to focus on that center area because you do pull up a little bit of the black paint during this process and I don't really want to muddy my colors. If you didn't have a little mess up spot like that, you can just feel free to continue around the whole cup. As you can see here, I'm trying to keep it very random. Don't overthink this process too much because it really is better to just kind of go with the flow and how it feels as you're putting it on. I just like to leave enough space on the top and bottom so that we can still see that black and white high contrast effect. Keep applying your limeade in this fashion until you have worked your way around the cup. Now we are ready to move on to our Mojito. This is the darker of the 2 colors, and I am going to be concentrating this in the center of that lighter green area. Obviously, with alcohol inks, because they are transparent, you want to work with your lightest color first and build up your color layers by graduating to your darker colors. The same way that we did with the Limeade, we are just going to add it to our sponge. I don't bother to change sponges because I feel like this also helps us blend the color. And again, since I have that splotchy black area, I'm going to stay away from that with this color and continue around the cup until we have blended those two colors together to our liking. Alcohol ink dries very quickly, so as soon as that is dried, we are going to move on to our epoxy layer. This is our first layer of epoxy, and because there's no glitter on the cup, you really only need about 15 milliliters, but I mixed up 20 just to be on the safe side. I coat this the way I do all of my tumblers by adding a very thin coat, smoothing it from the bottom to the top, and then coming in and taking care of the bottom of the cup. Don't worry, the bottom of the cup is blank right now. We are going to be adding some spray paint to that a little bit later on in the process. Go ahead and run a torch over your cup to pop any small bubbles and to just help that epoxy flow. And we will wait for about 4 to 6 hours and add a second coat. Go ahead and let that last layer dry for 12 hours. And in the meantime, we're going to move on to creating our decal. I go over creating Waterslide decals in Google Docs in several of my videos, so this is just a quick rundown. You want to make sure that your page is set up to A4, that there's 0 margins, and that if you're using multiple images, that you have the text wrap feature highlighted and your margins set to 0. This will allow you to move your images around on the page and get as many in as you possibly can. I will be duplicating this image so that I can make multiple cups. So you just want to copy and paste until you have your whole page filled. Once everything is the way that you would like it to look, you are going to print on whatever print settings you get the best result for Waterslide. I go over in one of my previous videos the settings that I use, but yours may be different depending on your brand of Waterslide paper. Go ahead and print that out. Make sure to seal your water slides with Rustoleum 2x clear gloss or Krylon triple thick at least 3 to 5 times until your entire surface is coated. If you do not do that step, your water slides will end up bleeding when you put them into the water and it will ruin them. Now we're going to move on to sanding the rim of our cup and sanding down any kind of imperfections that may show through later on. I'm using a 320 grit sanding disc because we don't have any glitter or anything that we really need to sand down any chunky bits for. So this is a perfectly acceptable grade of sandpaper to use. After I finish exposing just a small bit of the stainless steel on the top, I'm going to come into the bottom of the cup, and because this spray paint was textural, there are some lumpy bits at the bottom that I want to make sure that we take care of now versus having uneven spots later on. Once I have that sanded down, I did feel the rest of the cup just to make sure there were no imperfections. I did find a small bubble, and so I took care of that as well, sanding that down. Now we're going to prep the area for our Waterslide decal. To do that, I'm going to take the Rustoleum flat white and I'm going to spray it over that nasty black area that I had. This is what I call going with the flow, guys. Instead of starting over, I was able to use it to my advantage. Go ahead and also spray paint the bottom. And as soon as this is dry, we are going to come in and clean up our cup. There's going to be some overspray, and I also wanted to distress that center area just a little bit more so that it kind of looks a little grungy and more boy-like. I also clean up around the bottom where I painted because unfortunately that overspray did get into some areas that I didn't want to have that white. Overspray from the white paint will almost look cloudy, and so that's kind of what you're looking for. Sometimes I have to hold it against the light just to make sure that I'm getting all my spots. I use a combination of acetone and alcohol to clean up these areas. I run alcohol along the entire cup just to make sure that I have gotten everything off, because at this point, anything we have on the cup will end up showing through to future layers of epoxy. Now we are ready to apply our Waterslide decal. I am going to submerge the decal in warm water to loosen it from the backing paper. And because this look is more of a grungy look, I did not worry about having this on a gloss surface first. I did not have any issues with seeing the outline of the clear Waterslide using this method, but if you're concerned, you could spray a layer of gloss spray paint before adding your Waterslide decal. I'm going to go ahead and slowly remove that backing and squeegee with my silicone tool as we go along. Make sure that your decal is fully dry before moving on to your epoxy step. Now we are ready to go in with about 15 milliliters of epoxy and add a protective coating over that Waterslide decal. You always want to seal your Waterslide decal with a layer of epoxy before adding anything else, because that Waterslide decal is very delicate and you will not be able to transfer a vinyl image onto any area of the cup without risking pulling up that Waterslide decal. As soon as this layer of epoxy is done, we will be ready to move on to the next step. Now we're ready to move on to creating our word decal, and to do that I'm going to type out each letter individually. I chose the word goal, and this also allows you to kind of leave the back side of the cup ready to personalize for whatever somebody else would like to add to the cup. I chose Graffiti Rebel as my font because I thought it gave it a nice little edge without it being too sportsy. I went ahead and aligned my letters vertically, and to make sure they are all centered, I am going to select them all once I have them placed and hit Align Center horizontally. Once I have them aligned, I'm going to come and change the height to 4.5, letting the width auto-populate, highlight again, come down to weld, and make sure all of my letters are stuck together. Then I'm going to give an offset of 0.08. And once we have that, we are ready to cut. I used gold Oracal vinyl from the Vinyl People. And for my main letters, I used Pretty as a Peacock from the Vinyl People. You're going to cut number 1 on the vinyl setting, and you're going to cut your second mat on the premium holographic. Go ahead and layer your offset and your word together, and then we are going to be placing it on the cup in that kind of grunged out black area that came on the Waterslide decal. I'm going to go ahead and center the O and the A over that area so that I have an even spacing all across that word. We are now going to be sealing in that vinyl. You can use polyacrylic, you could use CC DIY Quick Coat, but you just want a very, very thin coat of whatever sealant you use to be on the cup. From there, we are going to add our layers of epoxy to seal this in. Unfortunately, my footage was deleted accidentally on my phone, so I do not have footage of that, but it's basically 2 coats, letting the first coat dry for about 4 to 6 hours before you move into the second. Now guys, this is where something went wrong with this tutorial. I did not want to delay getting this tutorial out to you, so here is a little bit of an explanation of what went wrong. So after those 2 coats over the decal, I was ready for my final coat of epoxy. Upon adding that final coat of epoxy, something must have happened, and my best guess is that it flash cured, which just means that it heated up really quickly. In the next frame, you will see the result of that issue. As you can see here, the gold offset for the word goal bubbled up in areas, and there's really no way to fix this at this point in the cup without completely stripping it. However, I have a little hack for you guys. I came in with my gold Posca paint pen, and I just outlined each one of these letters, basically creating a brand new offset. I have used this technique before where I wanted a more hand-lettered look by outlining my vinyl instead of doing an offset. In this case though, because my gold paint pen perfectly matches that gold we used originally, I am able to cover up all of those imperfections and also kind of add a fun graffiti-like touch to this cup anyway. Basically, I have a motto, just roll with it. And this was the perfect way to show you guys how you can fix a cup instead of throwing it in your strip pile. So unfortunately, it means by the end of this tutorial, this cup was not 100% finished, but I really wanted to use this as a teaching moment for you guys and to show you that what we might think is an unfixable mistake and cannot be salvaged, that maybe, just maybe, there is a solution on the horizon. Allow your paint pen to dry and add your final coats of epoxy. I want to thank all of you guys for sticking with me throughout this tutorial and allowing me to turn this cup into a teaching moment for all of us. I really appreciate being an open and honest person with all of you guys and showing you both my successes and my struggles. So thank you so much for sticking this tutorial out with me. The finished cup will be up in my Chels Beads community group over on Facebook. And if you liked this video, please subscribe to my channel, hit that like button, hit that bell button so you never miss a minute of the fun, comment below, and from the bottom of my heart, a thank you to all of my subscribers and my followers. If you'd like to see my last video, go ahead and click on it here. And until next time, guys, stay creative.